What's happening, Delco? I'm Rich Shane, and welcome to the What's Happening Delco podcast. Today, I'm joined by Christine Brayton of Roz and Rocco's. Christine, welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
This is exciting. We get to talk Roz and Rocco's. We get to talk Italian food today. How did all this get started?
Well, I've been in restaurants since I was in high school and always worked running other people's restaurants. And then I met my husband years ago, and he had just switched careers from selling insurance and had the goal of opening his own restaurant. And after we got married and had a child, our first, we thought maybe we should do our own restaurant. And what really brought us together as more than colleagues was the passing away of our two fathers, Roz and Rocco. So we thought it would be cool to do a restaurant named after them. Because they're both great businessmen and they have cool names that both begin with R. And so that was kind of the beginning of it. And then as we were building the concept, I was thinking about my grandmothers, and they were both sort of the, archetype of an Italian grandmother. And I had so many friends and neighbors that just wanted me to invite them over for dinner so that they could have their food and their hospitality. I swear many people stayed friends with me just for that. And I thought it was something that needed to be bottled up and offered to the community. So that's kind of how it began.
That's a great tradition and a great way to pay homage to your family. Were you in the kitchen as a kid? I know you said you worked in restaurants, but were you watching family members, grandparents, anybody cook at the time?
Yes. I mean, both my grandmothers on both sides cooked all the time, and we had family meals all the time. And if I was around, I was there, helping them roll out gnocchi or powder cookies or anything. And I was a part of it, but it was more witnessing it and just, being a part of the whole experience that rubbed off on me.
What can people expect when they come to Roz and Rocco's?
You can expect a really authentic Italian-American experience. And I'll just emphasize the word American because there's a difference between Italian food, like from Italy, and Italian-American food, especially Italian-American food from South Philadelphia, which is where my grandparents lived. They've adapted Italian food to the area and to the culture here and the time. So it's a little different. So they can expect a really authentic Italian-American experience, which to me is great food, lots of it, and a really welcoming, genuinely want you to be here, want you to be happy feel from our staff and from the team and through the food.
What sets Roz and Rocco's apart?
I think for this area, one thing that sets it apart is the fact that it is Italian-American. We're not trying to be Italian, so you get a little more, you get some more standard American fare like our Simply Grilled section. Another cool thing that we do that's different than most Italian restaurants is we're BYOB, which is not uncommon around here, but we have a make-your-own cocktail section, MYOC. So you can bring in wine and beer, of course, but you can also bring in liquor, and we can turn it into one of our 9 specialty cocktails. We bring out the mixer and a tin shaker, and we'll pour it at the table, or you can do it yourself. And I think that's pretty unique. You can't really get a restaurant-quality cocktail at a BYOB restaurant.
What are one of those signature cocktails, the make-your-own cocktail that you make?
There's so many good ones, but my favorite is the IG lemonade, the Italian grandmother lemonade, and it's a rosemary-infused sweet lemonade that goes best with vodka. You could probably put it with other things, but it's just so good, and it's definitely makes me feel like I'm at grandma's and they slip right down.
I don't know why I'm picturing it, but I'm picturing these rolled down knee highs as grandma brings these to the table. So somebody has to recreate that for us. That is so fun. Now, you mentioned here, where can people find Roz and Rocco's?
So we're physically located on Westchester Pike, right where it intersects with Springfield Road. We're in the same strip as Apple Walnut Cafe and Alfredo's Pizza, New Leaf Chinese. We have our own little Broomall food hotspot here. And then we're on Facebook. We have our own website, rozandrockos.com. We're on Instagram. So you can definitely follow us and see us as we post pictures or do new menu items. Or we make our own house-made pasta here. There's another standout. And we make our own bread. And we oftentimes post videos of chef making them. And so you can be in on the fun of producing what we serve here.
Now, we were talking, and another thing I believe that sets you apart is you talked about brunch. And you do brunch here.
Yes, we do. And I feel like people think an Italian restaurant, oh, what's brunch? Well, Italians do brunch really well, too. We have lemon ricotta pancakes. We have a Nutella waffle, a frittata, which is awesome. Chef changes it up every couple of days. So we serve our whole menu from 12 o'clock onwards, plus 6 additional brunch items and breakfast sides from 12 to 4. And that's every day.
Now, if you look at when you opened, I think you're about a year old now, or close to it, right?
No, only 4 months.
What?
I know.
It seems like a year.
I know.
The pandemic makes everything seem so much longer, doesn't it?
Yes. No, it's been 4 months. We opened at the very, very end of April.
I think there was a coming soon sign for at least 8 months.
Yeah.
So that would be a year.
Well, you know, we have to roll out the moment. We can't just appear.
How has the pandemic, or where we are in the pandemic, how is that affecting your business? Any kind of limitations or things on the menu that are still, well, with the supply chain, do we have this on the menu or not?
I don't think it's really affected us much.
Good.
I don't know. I will say that Scott and I met and lived in New York City for 12 years, and because of the pandemic, we moved here to be closer to family. So we might never have come here if it weren't for the pandemic. But aside from just our very being at this location, I don't think anything is different. A lot of Italian-American food really came to be at a time in American history and in neighborhoods where they didn't have much money. So a lot of it is making really special food out of not that crazy, ridiculous ingredients. So it didn't have much of an effect on us.
Besides your kids and Scott, what motivates you? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
Wow. I mean, I would really like to produce something, i.e. this restaurant, that goes on beyond me, that has an impact beyond me, that people can say, oh yeah, I had my rehearsal dinner there, or I had my first date with my husband there 10 years ago, and it becomes a memory. This restaurant used to be Valentino's years ago, and for 20 years, and many people come in and they'll say, oh, it was Valentino's, and it sparks a memory for them. And so creating something that embodies my family and all my favorite things that could also be a memory for someone else forever is motivating.
Now, you mentioned the cuisine here is Italian-American. Do you have people, or do you have restaurants, or do you have chefs, people on TV, or people that you grew up around that, you know, just kind of impacted you, or say, I'd like to recreate that dish, or that's the kind of food that I would like to serve?
Yeah, I mean, and I would say there's a lot of famous chefs and chefs that I've worked with that have inspired me. But this food here, I really wanted it to be something that you would find at my grandmother's table. That is that approachable, just really good food, nothing fancy, nothing ridiculous. That's really what I wanted. So for this specific menu, it's really my 2 grandmothers.
Now, is there anything from your 2 grandmothers that they made around the house, or you saw them make, or they served you, that you haven't yet made yet, that you have an interest in adding to the menu, or maybe doing a special?
Oh, yeah. So my mom's mother, Edith, she used to make a lot of different cookies and pastries, and some of them, like, I sort of remember their name, but not really. And so I'm working with my aunt to go through their recipes and find it. So I'd like to bring back a lot of those pastries from that grandmother. And then from the other side, my grandmother, Hilda, my dad's mom, she used to make things like really ordinary things like scrambled eggs. Scrambled eggs, she would scramble them in olive oil, and they were so good. So I'm always trying to remember or figure out how she made those very simple things. And as I figure them out, bring them back and have them on the menu in some way, shape, or form. So working on that.
A lot of times, and you mentioned looking through recipes, things didn't get written down.
Yes.
Things were just, they just kind of threw stuff in a pot or pan or whatever, and that was what they knew from memory.
Yes, I'm glad you said that. My aunt, so my mom's sister, she actually took all of my grandmother's recipes and made them digital, and the best thing that she did is she added notes. Like, my grandmother used to say, you know, a cup of macaroni cheese. And to her, macaroni cheese was whatever cheese you had around the house grated. But you wouldn't know that if you weren't there when she was reading off these recipes. So my aunt has gone through and, like, really notated all these recipes, which is amazing. On the other side, my dad's mother, she had 2 sons who didn't do a whole lot of cooking. We don't have as much of that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of like little markings in the margin or pencil you can barely read that you have to kind of figure out. But I think that's how recipes evolve over time.
That's fascinating. And I saw as you were talking about how your face lit up, trying to, think through watching them. You were visualizing watching them cook food, and that was really cool.
And they didn't really measure things. Like, I feel like it was just they could feel it, they knew. And a lot of their measurements, instead of like a cup of water, it was fill the can back up with water, or fill this up with water, or I've seen notations where it's like a specific spoon they had, so it's cool, but that's how they made food for their families. What are the hours of operation that you serve people and people can come in and dine with you? Sure. So we open at 12 o'clock every day and we stay open. We usually take our last seating around 8:30 or 9, depending on the day of the week. And then we would stay open until that last table, had a full and complete service. And we do takeout until 8:30. All right, a few Delco questions. Sure. You were saying, all right, I've had my Italian-American fill today. I want a pizza. Where are you going? Oh, in Delco. Providence Pizza. It's up the road in Newtown Square. I love Alfredo's, our neighbor, 2 doors down. We had tons of that as we were opening. So those are my 2 favorite pizzas around here. All right, you had your pizza. Now you're looking for cheesesteak. Where are you going for cheesesteak? Tough. I like Pat's and Gino's. I like Pat's, but I like Pat's and Gino's just going there because I feel like I was there so many times with my dad and the whole experience of waiting in line. And they grew up in South Philly, and that was like the experience to do that. So you have those connections and memories, right? Yes. So it's more memory evoking. I mean, the cheesesteaks are great, but it's more memory evoking than anything. Those are probably my favorites. If you're on your way to Pat's and Gino's, which we all know isn't in Delaware County, where are you stopping? Wawa or Royal Farms for a little bit of Wawa. Okay. I'm obsessed with Wawa. I've always been obsessed with Wawa. I know that sounds crazy, but it's so convenient, so good. They always have been. I remember when they came out with the machines where you could order your sandwich. Like, that was pre anyone doing that. Now that's everywhere. I just feel like they do everything right. I'm a big Wawa fan. You have friends or family coming in from out of town, and you want to give them that Delco experience, or you want to share that with them. Where are you sending them, or where are you taking them? That's a good question. I mean, besides have them eat here. Definitely have them eat here. I would definitely have them go to Wawa, for sure, even just to, walk through. More of a Philly thing, but I would point out Tasty Cake, and I feel like people don't know that if they're not from this area. I love Media State Street. I think that's a great place. A lot of those restaurants are cool. I love dining under the stars. I think that's very Delco. The Townhouse restaurant, which just got refurbished, was a place my dad used to go to all the time because he was a lawyer at the Media Courthouse. So probably that area would be my first go-to spot. Christine, I think that no matter what happens, it's going to be around food. And that's very Italian-American, isn't it? Yes, definitely. Food is a big central point of my life. Yes. You sound that you've got a lot of gratitude in your life for where you are and what you have, family and this restaurant, your husband. What are 3 things you're grateful for? To narrow it down to 3, I don't know. I have the best daughters ever. They're just the best. 3 and 1. Anything other parents complain about, I just don't have to complain about. I have 2 great parents who were divorced and worked very hard to be very good friends, and they're friends with each other and each other's spouses. And, my mom was here celebrating this restaurant, and my dad just like, anybody else. So my parents and my husband. 100%. I can't believe I didn't forget. It was so default. But my husband, and the opportunity to have a partner that is a partner in life and now in business. It's a treat to get to work with him. That's awesome. Is there anything we haven't talked about on the podcast today? Anything you want to share with the listeners? Let them know about Roz and Rocco's, something going on? Nothing. The only thing I would say is come in, check us out, and there's a sign above the door when you enter, but we are here and we want your feedback. If something isn't perfect, if something isn't just exactly the way you like it, we really want to know. I think people think, oh, they don't want to hear my complaint or my issue, or it's just my personal preference. We do care and we do want to know. So please share it with us.
Tell the owners, tell the staff. Yes. Don't tell your friends and family on Instagram and Facebook first. Give them a chance to fix it.
Please.
Because it's probably something that's easily fixable that somebody just didn't realize that it was a mistake.
Exactly, right? Yeah. Or just even preference-y things. Like, we want to know what people in this area like. You know, everything's different, and so we're adaptable, and we want to hear your feedback.
Well, we're grateful for your time today. Thanks for being a friend of What's Happening Delco. We can't wait for the 1-year anniversary when it actually happens here at Roz and Rocco's. But if you're looking for great American Italian or Italian American food, come out and see Christine Scott and Roz and Rocco's.
And I can't wait for you guys to come in and eat.
We're going to come in soon.
Okay.